From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
What's up, world? It's the one and only Pop DBICD Primetime Capper. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I hope you are feeling the same. And man, oh man, today is the day, and it is Monday, and we had a great week last week when it came to sports and everything like that. And we had a great weekend this weekend as well too. We saw ourselves have the greatest tournament of all time, and it was capped off by the greatest, pretty much the craziest Final Four that you can ever put together. Pretty much we have four teams here that nobody felt that was going to be here in the Final Four. And pretty much I will say this. I had five teams that I selected. UCLA, of course. Then you had Kansas, the defending national champions as well, too. And then I also liked Texas a lot this year as well, too. I thought Texas was a really, really good team. And then I also threw in Alabama because I felt like Alabama was just a really, really tough team to beat and everything like that. And they had got a great win over in Houston and everything like that. And then there's UConn. I like UConn the moment I saw that they had won 14 games in a row to start the season off, and every single one of those victories was by double digits. So they showed me that they could possibly be the national champions. Why? Because they knocked off Alabama in the process as well, too. When Alabama was coming off of some of their better wins of the season, knocking off two number one teams in a row. And that's what gave Alabama the street credibility that they needed. But Alabama got put out last Friday. And everybody was very, 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 very surprised by that. And then we had Houston get put out last Friday as well, too. That was another shocker. So pretty much what happens is this. We had UCLA get put out by a Gonzaga team that literally played their best game of the year in that game. They didn't have anything for UConn. UConn, I told you guys on Thursday night what was going to happen in Las Vegas Saturday night. You didn't even have to go to the game. I told you guys exactly what was going to happen. I said they played a great game against UCLA, but when they play UConn, I said UConn by 25, book it. You can go look it up on Twitter, or type in UConn by 25, book it. I'll be the first name that comes up there. So I called my shot. They won by 28. So that means that somebody's been watching a lot of college basketball this season, and a lot of you guys haven't, because they felt like this was going to be a toe-to-toe, big-time heavyweight matchup and all this other extra stuff to try to sell the game up. Man, I know everybody was over there cutting that game off by the time we got to mid-second half, bro. Seriously, that game was over with. It was probably the most boringest game of the weekend. The other three games were amazing. The game at the Garden, absolute classic. That is a instant classic right there between Florida Atlantic and Kansas State. Kansas State was pretty much a heavy favorite to win the game. Even though they were only a point and a half, they were still the favorite. They had 82% of the bets going on their side to win the game. So they wound up losing that game by 3. Great effort from Marquise Noel. Couldn't get Keontae Johnson, could never get into the game. He only had 9 points. He fouled out, but I do truly feel like if Keontae had a better game, they probably would have dominated that game as well too. And I felt like they made Marquise Noel do a bit too much. He was the guy passing the ball. He was the guy shooting the ball, and the guy's only like 5'5". So literally they overplayed their little guy, and he's really a weapon and a luxury in a sense. And pretty much what happened was that he overplayed to the point to where it cost him the game, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And it's not any fault of his. It's just that the coach didn't know where to go to a second option, and other guys just didn't step up. It's simple. And the Garden is a real streaky type arena. If you got the momentum going on your side, it's going to be tough to beat you. And FAU caught that momentum there in the last 5 minutes of the game, and they were tough because I'm going to keep it real with you. Kansas State had plenty of opportunities to run away with the game. They were up, I think, 7-9 points at one point, and literally they stalled out. And they had 2 straight turnovers that really messed them up, and then had 2 stops right after those turnovers. So when you can't keep the flow going, then you're not going to be able to win that game. And that's exactly what happened in Kansas State. Now, when it comes down to the and that was Saturday. Now, when it comes down to that San Diego State Creighton game, that probably was the classic game of the weekend because that was a good old basketball game right there. That was the type of game where you had great offense going against great defense. San Diego State played their game plan to a T. And let me give you guys a real fact about San Diego State that nobody's really mentioning that much. This team hasn't given up more than 57 points since, since February. And literally in this tournament, they turned their defense onto a whole nother level. They have not given up more than 57 points. They held Alabama to their lowest scoring output of the season. They scored 57 against them. They had Creighton in a position where they hadn't been in all season. I don't think they even I think they didn't even have a game as low as 57 points because they're a 3-point shooting team. They shut both of them down. And literally everybody just kept giving themselves that look like, what the hell is San Diego? What is San Diego State thinking? Like, they know they're not supposed to go no further than the Sweet 16, and they wasn't having that. And I had to literally let people know the last few days that San Diego State is the best team in the state of California when it comes to college basketball. Since the Kawhi days, this team has been the most dominant force. Even though they don't win national championships, they had never been to a Final Four. They had never really even got anywhere but the Sweet 16, and that was once. So pretty much this team has always been a team that always seems to look really good in games, and then they fall apart when it comes down to winning that game. This year, they didn't have that problem. They figured it out. Brian Dutcher has finally found out what type of group he truly has. And as I tell everybody, San Diego State might not get the 5 stars from California, the 4 stars, things of that nature. You know, they were blessed when they got DJ Gay and Kawhi, because those were guys that wanted to kind of send a message because they didn't want to play on the bench at UCLA and USC. So they went to San Diego State to start for Coach Fisher. And they wound up making themselves a brand name right after that because San Diego State was already on the up and up, but they made themselves somewhat of a brand name in college basketball when they brought those guys in, and they were the 1 seed. Yeah, they were the 1 seed that year when they lost to UConn. So pretty much you have a team that was long overdue. It's just that simple. They're not your regular. You don't even call them a mid-major because their conference got 4 teams in. They got the same amount of teams that the Pac-12 got in, and they only let the Pac-12 get 4 in because the Pac-12 is considered a power conference. But with UCLA and USC leaving, they're going to be Mountain West and Pac-12 are going to be on the same level. So pretty much Mountain West, if you're San Diego State, don't leave anywhere. You already play in a very competitive conference as is. You don't need to go to the Pac-12 so you can feel better about it, so your fans can feel like they're at the big table now. The Pac-12's literally moving away from the big table right now. The Mountain West and Pac-12 will have to share the West Coast now on who the power conference truly is on that side of the country. So pretty much San Diego State had an overdue moment. So they get to the Final Four, and then you have Miami. Miami had the toughest road. I know we talked on our show earlier, me and Jeff said that he felt that San Diego State had the toughest road because the way that they made Alabama and Creighton play their games. I would say Miami had the toughest road because nobody ever gave Miami a chance. Miami, they looked at Miami. Oh, Miami won the ACC this year. It was a down year for the conference. Oh, the conference ain't good. Oh, it's a down. No. Oh, we no respect for Miami. Even though they beat everybody in the conference, it's supposed to be those teams in the conference. Oh, we're not going to respect them. And then Miami gets a bad loss in the tournament. They lose to Duke. Okay. They lost to Duke. And then everybody has this idea, well, it's the ACC and it's always going to be about Duke and North Carolina. Okay. Duke and North Carolina were done after North Carolina didn't make the tournament, and Duke was done after the first weekend, and Virginia was done on the first day. But Miami, a team that I will guarantee had 80% of the public against them in every single game they played in since the start of the tournament. You said Drake was going to beat them. They finished Drake with a 16-1 run. They were losing to Drake by 7 points late in the second half. Then they played out Indiana, and they absolutely beat Indiana from the tip off to the end of the game. And Indiana has a player that could possibly win Player of the Year in Trace Jackson. So pretty much, they knocked them out. So yeah, get them out. Yeah, they had two good really games, and they'll be out of here. No, they go play Houston, the most vulnerable one seed other than Purdue. They went in there and they absolutely had their way with Houston. Houston was never in that game. They were never in the game. And Miami went ahead and took care of their business in that spot as well, too. And literally, then you told yourself, well, they should be done because Texas is really good. Texas is damn good. Texas didn't have no tough games coming into the Elite Eight. Yeah, they kind of had a little bit of a back and forth with Penn State, but you knew that was going to happen. And then they absolutely crushed Xavier, a team that actually had a chance to beat Texas. You thought they were kind of on the same level. So Texas, they looked like the most powerful team in the nation. I thought Texas was next up to be the favorite to win the national championship, even over this great UConn team. Texas gets a 13-point lead. Next thing you know, they get outscored 37-17 on the way out. Oh my goodness, the Miami Hurricanes are cutting down the nets for the first time ever to go to the Final Four. And the funniest thing about it is, Coach a few years ago had a really good team that wound up being a 4 seed and got absolutely crushed by Villanova. But that team was good too, and that was another team that was overlooked, who was a top team in the ACC, but they were overlooked because they're Miami. And everybody remembers Miami being such a bad team in the Big East back in the day when it came to basketball. They're a football school. Everybody knows that. But now Miami is showing that they're a basketball school as well, too. They've recruited some really good players who are all going to go to the NBA as well, too. So pretty much this could be the greatest Final Four of all time. I know it sounds crazy today, but for theater and for action, I love every moment of this. I love every moment of it. Every moment of it. FAU. I don't need to talk too much about FAU. FAU is an incredible story. FAU is the truest us against the world team I've seen in a very, very long time. I'm gonna be dead honest with you. That's the first time I've seen a team like this in, I don't know, in forever. They remind me a lot of that UConn team that was led by Shabazz. Straight up. They just don't care what you think about them. They're going to just keep doing what they do. You know what I mean? And this team is an absolute unit. They are tough. They are tough to beat. And beating Memphis, that was they really not supposed to be here. They beat Memphis on a last-second layup, okay? Then we don't know what happens in the Purdue game if they drew Purdue. They were lucky enough to draw FDU. And so we all told ourselves, they're done with after this. It's over with. It's done. It's through. Stop worrying about what this team is doing. Tennessee got this because Tennessee crushed Duke. They went in there and whooped Tennessee. Tennessee went up 8 points, 25-17. They wound up they literally went ahead and said, we're going to leave you right where you at, buddy. And they outscored them from that point on 45-30. Went in the game by 7. Come on. They gave up 25 points. This was damn near mid-second, first half when you saw that point of the game. You know what I mean? It literally shut this team down from that point on. Then they play against Kansas State. It's MSG. And it was all about who wanted it more. They wanted it more. So FAU probably does have the heart of America. Let's just say that. The odds say they have the heart of America because they're coming in here at 950. And the craziest thing about it is they're still not showing Miami any respect. Miami's still 15-1 to win this thing. So there it goes. There it goes. We're going to talk more about college basketball all week. I'm going to break down every single game for you guys. Both games for you guys this week as well too. But we'll be talking a lot of college basketball this week, talking some NIT as well too to get you guys up to speed with that. But with that, we're gonna go ahead and switch topics because I could talk about the Final Four the whole show, but I got other topics to talk about. So let's go ahead and move forward and let's jump into our next topic in hand, and that's gonna be this one right here. That's gonna be for this fight that happened this weekend. Very intriguing fight. The first fight of the year in Las Vegas on pay-per-view, and this was between David Benavidez, the Mexican monster, going against Caleb Sweet Hands Plant. And pretty much this was a big time grudge match in a sense. These two absolutely hated each other going into this fight, and pretty much this was to prove who's better and to stop all this trash talk on who's going to be able to accomplish the goal. So this was more of a fan fight. This was definitely for the fans, but this was stepping stones for both guys as well too, because they're seen as two of the top boxers in the 168 division, which I feel is a bridge division at the end of the day. Pretty much it's the division that's in between middleweight and light heavyweight. You know, super middleweight, that's great. 168, but really you just kind of you're in a middling division. But this division is really popular because Canelo's a part of it. And Canelo is the man that everybody wants to fight because Canelo got that bag. Boy, got that bag. I'm telling you, Canelo is somebody that will change your whole life, just like Floyd Mayweather before him, and just like Oscar De La Hoya before Floyd. So pretty much these guys can change your life when you fight them. Pretty much financially. It doesn't matter about winning or losing. You won once you sign that contract to fight these guys. You know what I mean? So David Benavidez is looking for that monster fight against Canelo, but he has obstacles. He has people that he has to go through. Caleb Plant felt that he was better, and Caleb Plant felt that he's even better because Canelo chose him first. Him and Canelo had a great fight over at MGM last year. Canelo was able to win that fight on a late knockout in the 11th round. So pretty much we already seen a vulnerability with Caleb Plant. So David Benavidez, who's never really fought anybody that was very elite. You know what I mean? He won a championship. Yeah, that's great. He won a championship twice, and he did win a championship against Darrell, but Darrell was already way past his prime by the time he beat Darrell for that championship. So pretty much, David lost his belts, not in the ring. He lost the belt the first time because of a substance abuse, a substance that was found in his system. That's illegal. So pretty much he wasn't able, but you guys can look it up. It wasn't any HGH or anything like that. It was an actual recreational drug. So pretty much that's what held him up the first time. Everybody was pretty mad at him about it. And, he learned his lesson. So he kind of got put on timeout for a little bit with the WBC. So he had to take almost like a year off. And then when he came back, he was good. He was great. He was on a mission to get his belt back, and he was able to get his belt back that night at Staples Center for Porter Spence. But what happened was that his next fight out, he just couldn't make weight. So pretty much he lost his belt on the scales. And this was during a pandemic as well too. So it makes a lot of sense. So pretty much this fight wound up being one of these fights that everybody got into because everybody was talking about it. And, Kenny Bayless is actually a friend of mine who's the referee in that fight. Kenny and Kermit. You know that he has a twin brother. Kermit is a judge and a commission member, and Kenny's the referee. But they're twin brothers. And if you ever see them on fight night, you could get confused because Kermit wears the suit. Kenny's going to be in the ref outfit. But it was funny when I met Kermit, I was like, what are you doing with glasses on, Kenny? He was like, I'm the other brother. And so pretty much that's a fun little story. But I don't think that he did a bad job with breaking him up and everything like that, because Caleb wasn't holding him that long, and they were finding ways to get out of the clinches as well too. And you know what? In boxing, you do as much as you can that you can get away with until you can't get away with it anymore. It's not really cheating until somebody says it's cheating, right? So in all, they said it's just some fighting. So it is what it is. But the first half of the fight, Caleb Plant dominated. Let's just keep it real. He was picking his shots. He was doing whatever he wanted to David Benavidez, who was kind of confused and was really, really flat-footed coming out in those first 5 and 6 rounds. And I thought that was going to be a big problem for Benavidez. That's why I kind of leaned towards Caleb Plant in this fight. But I knew that the power side was going to David Benavidez. And once David Benavidez figured out exactly what Caleb was doing, he started going to that body and started tearing that body up. And then pretty much he started making Caleb Plant gas out. Okay. And Caleb Plant was very hurt by the time we got to the 8th, 9th round, because David just started hitting him with some very hard shots you got to be a real tough man to stand up to this, because David Benavidez has a lot of power. So pretty much you knew that the grudge match was for real, because no man wanted to be on the ground, period. So they'll take any type of punishment that they got to take, and it don't matter. They still gonna be standing. So what happened was, it was a tale of two fights. The first half of the fight was dominated by Caleb Plant. You could possibly give him the first 6 rounds of the fight, and that would make the fight a draw. It was a draw on my card, to be honest with you. But it looked like most refs gave him the first 4 or 5 rounds, and then from there, David Benavidez was pretty much too legit to quit. David Benavidez, from about round 6 on, was absolutely remarkable. The guy was doing whatever he wanted, and he was so dominant. That's the whole thing. And pretty much he wants Canelo now. But I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to keep it very real for y'all. And I love David. David is a great guy. I know David in real life. This isn't just some person that I follow on Twitter and some person that I've covered in the media before. I actually know David. I know his father. I know his brother. I'm real cool with Rayo. I'm real cool with Mikey, who's Rayo's manager. You know, all these people are people I'm in contact with. So pretty much I'm going to keep it real that David Benavidez's best years are not at 168. His best years are at 175. His best fights are at 175. I would say, if I'm David Benavidez, stop chasing Canelo. Let Canelo chase you. All right, Canelo wants to fight at 175 now. I'll meet you at 175, because that's a weight that I know I'll really have the advantage at. Because Canelo, you giving him the advantage if you fight him at 168. At 175, it's an even playing field. And I feel like if David Benavidez wants these big fights, you go to 175, because he possibly can get a Joe Smith fight. He can get a Bivol fight. He can get a better B fight, because in light heavyweight, they don't play that side of the street in light heavyweights. They just really try to book really good fights. So pretty much I think that he has a better opportunity to actually fight the bigger names at 175, and the bigger names are at 175. But if he wants to stay at 168, I say this: the best way for you to get Canelo is fight David Morrell next. David Morrell has to be David Benavidez's next fight. He called out David just like David called out Caleb Plant. So pretty much I feel like he needs to go ahead and check that fade on everything. That you need to go ahead and see about that fade, because David Morrell is seen as a phenom, a prodigy. He only has about 7 fights, and he's already a world champion. So I would say this: that would be the best fight for David Benavidez coming up next, is fighting David Morrell. Stop worrying about Canelo, because David Morrell will actually get you another pay-per-view headliner. Canelo is right now is a dream. Canelo got his next 2 fights already set up. He's fighting Ryder, and most likely he's fighting Bivol in September. Just get that in your head right now. You know what I mean? So pretty much I would love to see David Benavidez go against David Morrell, and that would be an awesome fight. And I would tell you like this: we take the fight to Brooklyn, because Brooklyn would be the absolute perfect stage, say June. July, perfect stage. New York City, Brooklyn, New York. It is what it is. Get it on. Let's make it happen. David Benavidez, David Morrell, live from Barclays. Let's see if they'll go ahead and book that fight. I think that fight is perfect for that arena, and I think that fight is perfect if you want to put David on another pay-per-view. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. Let's go ahead and move forward, talk about 30 teams in 30 days. 30 teams in 30 days brings us to the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Arizona Diamondbacks were 74-88 last season. This team, to me, is, what can you say about a team like the Arizona Diamondbacks? They don't really mean much, you know what I mean? But they have a young team that they've been developing for a few years now, and I think that could be something that works out in their favor this season on improving that, being better than 74 wins this season, because they do have some guys that can make the All-Star team this year. I don't know if they can make a difference on how the team is the results of the team, but I know that they got some All-Stars here. Christian Walker is the first name that steps out to me, because Christian Walker hit 36 home runs last year, had 94 RBIs as a first baseman. And nobody spoke about this. Nobody brought this up. Nobody was talking about, man, that Christian Walker is a really good player. But they do that because a lot of times they just, your team's so bad that they don't care. It's just that simple. They don't care. So literally at the end of the day, this guy can be the difference in their team being really good this year or really bad this year. Okay. And I truly do think that he's up for having a good season. And if you're playing fantasy baseball, this guy should be on your team as a sneaky good player. Seriously, this guy will probably help you win your league and everything like that. So I truly do feel that this guy can be the biggest name on the team. He even has the most at-bats. He's seen it as their offense. But 1 through 4, they're not bad. I'm looking at the lineup now. Corbin Carroll, very good leadoff man. 21 stolen bases is projected for him this year. You know what I mean? He's an outfielder. Then you got Ketel Marte, a part of that great Marte family, Sterling Marte and others. He is seen as a great hitting second baseman. 272 average projected for this season. That could be a guy that might hit for 300 this year. And he is projected to hit 17 home runs, 68 RBIs in the 2-hole, and 74 runs as well. Jake McCarthy is the speed man. Jake McCarthy, they have him in the 3rd hole. And Jake McCarthy is projected to steal 30 bases. So they got a lot of speed up top. You know what I mean? When you got a lot of speed up top, that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. That's showing that your team is really a team that can go ahead and make some strides this season, make some real strides this season, and I truly do feel that when it comes down to it, this team will be a team that can surprise us and they can disappoint us at the same time. I look at the bottom of the lineup. They still got Nick Ahmed here. Nick Ahmed is a very fun player, and Nick Ahmed is pretty much the veteran of the group. He's a guy that's been with this group for a long time. And I think that he can be somebody that can be a very good, solid contributor to what this team is doing, in my opinion. I just truly do feel that. Now, when it comes down to, oh man, I'm over here. I'm trying to get the amount of wins for the Diamondbacks this year. And I'm going to go ahead and say the Diamondbacks are probably at 75.5 this year. That's what it feels like to me. And the Diamondbacks are just, pretty much, they are a team that they can go in all types of different directions. Let's just be honest. You know what I mean? They're a team that you can say to yourself that, will they win this amount of games? Probably not. But like I said, they're sitting at 75.5 for the season. Now, when I look at their pitching is not good. Zach Gallen is probably the best thing they got going. Merrill Kelly is probably going to be feeling pretty good about moving forward this year because he was a part of that group that was in the WBC. And then they got Bumgarner. Bumgarner is a guy that is, I feel Bumgarner is a guy that is old, but at the same time, he's a guy that can still be a great leader for your team. And so having him just gives, I'm not saying that this team has a big shot of making the playoffs, but if they did, it would be because of that veteran that they have in the because of him, the veteran that he is in this group. So I think that this can be something that can be special for the Diamondbacks, but I definitely do think that this team is back on the rise. I definitely do. I think that this team is back to being a team that can be exciting. You know what I mean? And I just get excited about those top four guys I see in this group. And I think that it's just sky's the limit for the Arizona Diamondbacks right now. And really, they ain't got nothing to lose when you think about it. So I do like them with the over 75.5. I do like that a lot. I do like the over 75.5. I think that's going to be a great play for you this year. You're getting like minus 110 on that as well, too. And I think that's a hitter, as we like to say. That's a hitter. So pretty much there it is with that. And let's go ahead and jump into our next team, and that's going to be the Colorado Rockies. The Colorado Rockies are sitting here just lowly. You know what I mean? Rockies finished dead last in the division last year. No surprise there, 68-94. Now, this team is looking to go ahead and try to right some wrongs this year and get things back gets things somewhat back to functionality. But you know, this team is just so hard to trust, man. The Rockies literally are a team that lives off of their home field You know what I mean? They win majority of their games at home because they kind of have a competitive advantage at their house. So we don't have to talk long about it. And that's why too. So they got Chris Bryant. That's probably the biggest bright spot that they have. They have him projected to hit 19 home runs, 66 RBIs. He's not going to be in the lineup as much as he was back in the day, but he's going to be somebody that's very good for this team. Then you got Charlie Blackmon. Charlie Blackmon, one of my favorite players in the MLB, one of the most consistent hitting guys in the MLB. Charlie's now a little bit older now, so he's a designated hitter. Charlie probably will yield some great assets mid-trade deadline and everything like that as well, too. Then they got Mike Moustakas. Mike Moustakas played in the World Series years ago with the Royals. They have him projected to hit 12 home runs this year. But it all goes back to CJ Cron. CJ Cron is trying to have himself a big season again this year. CJ Cron had 29 home runs, 102 RBIs last season. And the year before, he had 28 home runs and 92 RBIs the year before. So this guy has been pretty good the last 2 years. We all know in 2020, his season was cut short. But in 2018 and 2019, he hit a total of 55 home runs. So the guy has been raking that ball. But, you know, the Rockies just have not been good in this time either. So he is somebody that you look to as their best player, the guy that will be the man when it comes to getting the runs and everything like that. But Ryan McMahon should be a guy that's going to be very adequate for this team as well, too. He's projected to hit 21 home runs next season and have 73 RBI. So this team doesn't look like a team that's going to steal a lot of bases, but they're going to be a team that gets a lot of runs, in my opinion. And that's because playing in Colorado, you get that element. And it also looks like this team isn't going to be a high strikeout team either, because they are aggressive and they do like to hit the ball. So the Rockies, to me, with how bad their pitching is coming into this year, they're not going to be a team that you can even think that's going to be good. Come on, Jeremy Marquez is all right. Kyle Freeland is a guy that's just he might be good the first 6 weeks of the season. Jose Urena is literally the guy that you fade and you fade and you fade him constantly. This guy literally winds up on every bad team in the MLB in their rotation. Austin Gomber, this guy is pretty pretty mediocre in my opinion. And then Ryan Feltner might be is the new kid on the block somewhat, and he might be the bright spot because we don't know much about him. But German Marquez seems to be the only guy that's going to be able to carry anything. He's the only guy that has an ERA under 5 projected for next year as well too. So I have the Rockies actually still being a bad team. I don't even have them going over 65 and a half games. I think they land right at 65 and a half games. So there it is. There it is. The over-under for the win-loss for the Colorado Rockies this year is going to be under 65 and a half. And I truly do think that this team is going to be in the basement once again in the wild, wild NL West. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. And when I get back, we're going to go ahead and jump into the NBA and talking tickets. So you guys stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the PrimeTime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the PrimeTime Capper.
Now you and your friends can compete in the sport of kings and win big with Stable Duel. Get the app, pick your horses, and get in on the thrill of horse racing with daily games competing against other players. Bring home the glory and the cash, and move up the annual leaderboard while you leave your competition in the dust. Get in the game with Stable Duel. Play, race, win.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
All right, we are back with the premier sports betting show, the PrimeTime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the PrimeTime Capper. Let's go ahead and jump into State of the Lakers real quick. State of the Lakers. Lakers lost yesterday by 10, and that was kind of unfamiliar because everybody was looking forward to a Laker win. But if you've been watching the Lakers as much as I've been watching them all throughout this year, the Lakers – literally every time they win 3 games in a row, be ready for the Lakers to lose one of those games. So the Lakers won 3 games in a row going into the game last night. And pretty much what happened was that the Bulls just were ready. Pat Beverly had literally talked his guys into acting like it was game 7 of the NBA Finals yesterday. And the Lakers were really trying to get used to having LeBron again, because they have went a few weeks without LeBron and they play a different style. But having LeBron back, they thought they could breathe a little bit easier on defense and then started making the same mistakes that they've been making all season when LeBron is healthy on the defensive end. So that wound up working against them yesterday. The Lakers got down 21 points early in the first half, and really there was no coming back from there. The Lakers cut the lead down to 8 at the halftime, but they just were awful throughout the whole game defensive-wise, and they just couldn't get enough from the guys that are supposed to be big-time shooters like Malik Beasley. Even though Beasley had 18.6 threes, he missed 8 of them, okay? And then, you had Schroeder, he had a good game yesterday. He had 17, but AD was the one that was kind of lagging yesterday. Even though he was 6 for 8, he only had 15 points. He had 9 rebounds and 5 assists. Now, he needed a little bit more because LeBron came back and had 19 off the bench and barely was playing. So LeBron finishes up with 19, 8, and 3 and still led the team in scoring coming off the bench. Now, Troy Brown Jr. had a big game yesterday. He hit 4 threes. And I thought that was pretty good because a lot of people have been trying to dog him, but he's a really good basketball player. And I think that he needs to get more love because the guy has actually been our most consistent player, not named LeBron, AD, or Reeves all season. Reeves kind of had a little bit, kind of dialed it back yesterday a little bit. I thought he struggled a tad. 13.7 assists with 5 turnovers. Him and LeBron had the most turnovers yesterday. And I think that Austin Reeves can't afford to be having 5 turnovers a game, literally, because you're still a role player. I know that the LA fans make you feel like you're you're the superstar of the team, but bro, you're a role player. Now, when it comes down to the nitty gritty of the game, the Lakers got beat on the boards. They got beat 42-38. They were even when it came to offensive rebounds. They had 18 turnovers. That's the biggest difference in the game right there. The Bulls first forced 8 steals as well. So it was just a game where the Lakers needed a quick wake-up call, and the Lakers are on pace to make the playoffs. They're still the 9 seed, and I have the Lakers right now. The Lakers are in the 4th game now of the 10-game stretch that I said they needed to go 7-3 in. They're 2-1. And if you count the game before, if you count 11 games, they're 3-1. So the Lakers are fine. And the Lakers are actually right where we need them to be, because I said the Lakers should finish 10-5 this month. They're 8-5 this month. So I could take 9-6, but all in all, the Lakers are going to have a winning record at the end of the month. So that's good too. So pretty much moving forward, the Lakers know what time it is. These are the most important 7 games of the season. They have a 5-game road trip coming up. Luckily for them, the final game is going to be at Staples against the Clippers. And then they have 2 more games left at home against the Suns and the Jazz. And hopefully the Lakers can go ahead and get those bad boys home. So right now, the Lakers need to actually win 5 out of 7 of those games. They got to go 5-2 in that last group to ensure them to at least be right where they want to be, say, in the 8th or 7th seed. But the Lakers still got the possibility of getting the 6th seed. So with that, that's going to be the state of the Lakers for today. We'll be back tomorrow to talk more Lakers, because they got a immediate rematch with the Bulls in Chicago Wednesday. So you guys, with that, we move forward. Let's go ahead and jump into our NBA Monday night. And up first, we have the Mavericks and the Pacers. The Mavericks and the Pacers. Mavs are 36-39. The Pacers are 33-42. Now, the Pacers come into this game struggling a little bit, and the Mavericks are struggling big time right now. Mavericks are a team you really can't trust, to be honest with you, because this team is really playing like for themselves. Kyrie does not fit this team. I don't know why Mark Cuban made that move in the middle of the season and got rid of core players that were very good for Luka. Luka needed these guys he needed these support players, just like Michael Jordan needed his support players, just like Kobe Bryant needed his support players, because that's how Luka kind of is for this team. Now, this month, they've struggled. They're 3-8. That's not good if you're a team trying to make the playoffs right now. That they're 3-8. They're now not even in the play-in. That's how bad it's gotten for Dallas. Dallas at one point was the 4 seed. Now they're at 11, and they're sitting a game outside of the play-in behind Oklahoma City, who owns the edge in their tiebreaker right now. So, they're 3-8 this month. This is a must-win game. They lost 2 in a row to the lowly Hornets, so they're desperate for a win tonight. Now, the Pacers, on the other hand, this team is they're kind of going through the motions right now. They have lost 7 this month and won 5. So this team is still trying to make the playoffs themselves, but they're kind of, they kind of knew what time it was. Making the playoffs would be a bonus for them, but they're just trying to get through the season. They have a bunch of picks coming up in this year's draft as well. So, they're just going through the motions, but they would love to play spoiler tonight. And they're the favorite for a reason, because Dallas is coming into the game struggling. So all in all, when I see 2 teams that are struggling, I don't want to take a side. So what I'm going to do here is they've upped the scoreboard over under to 238.5. It's the morning line was 233.5. I'm going to take the 238.5, the over. So there it is with the Mavs and the Pacers. We're playing the over in this spot. All right, we move forward. Let's go ahead and jump into the Rockets and the Knicks. We all remember 1994 when the Knicks and the Rockets played in one of the funnest finals ever. Everybody kind of remembers what happened during the finals, the OJ chase and everything like that. It was a funny Friday night that night. That's all I can say, is that I'm still pissed off at NBC that they did not show the finals game until about 3 minutes left to go in the game. Like, that was awful. Like, literally, they stopped the whole NBA Finals game to show OJ driving down the street. So, the Rockets and the Knicks tonight. Teams going in 2 different directions. The Rockets never had any plans on being a good team this season. The Knicks are actually playing out of their body right now. A lot of people thought that the Knicks were still going to be lowly. They didn't think that they got enough stars during the offseason, blase. They thought the Knicks missed big time by not getting Spider Mitchell. So Spider Mitchell is balling with the Cavs, but he wouldn't have been doing the same thing with the Knicks. Let's keep it real. The Rockets are 5-9 this month. They've lost their last 5 in a row. They're trying to just go ahead and just get the season over with. They got 8 games left to go. They got 7 games left to go for the season. That's all they worried about is just getting this season over with. And they had themselves a 5-game road trip. They're already 0-3 on it. They're going to finish up in Brooklyn on Wednesday. So this team is looking to just go ahead and get in and get out. So I don't know exactly how they're feeling tonight, but I know the Knicks are probably going to overlook them tonight because, the Knicks have lost to a lot of bad teams this year, even though they've beat a lot of great teams this year, but they've lost to a lot of bad teams, and they're only 6-6 this month. So I don't know if you can totally trust the Knicks with the house rent, but I think the Knicks should be in this game. But I think what happens, though, is that the Rockets wind up covering this game. It seems like everybody gets a different feel when they go to the Garden, and I think the Rockets are going to be one of those teams tonight in the Garden. I expect Jabari Smith to have a big one tonight, to be honest with you, because it's the Garden, and he needs to have a little coming out party already. So with that, I'm taking a 13.5 on the Rockets tonight. All right, so let's move forward, talk about the Suns and the Jazz. The Suns and the Jazz, this one is really a handicap type of situation because the Jazz really are shorthanded right now. They don't have a lot of their starters playing, and Phoenix is still waiting on KD as well too, but they have room to lose. That's the whole thing, because other teams don't have room to lose, but they do. Now, this team is struggling right now. They've actually dropped their last 6 out of 8 games, okay? And they are 6-6 this month because of that. They started off hot because KD was here and KD was finally playing. And through the first 4 games, they absolutely were annihilating teams. And then he got hurt. So now Sacramento, now they're sitting here and they have themselves a it's a tough task, but they should be fine. And all in all, it should be a good game tonight for both these teams. So the Jazz and the Jazz and the the Jazz tonight, they come into the game 4-7. And this one right here, it should be, this team is just running into a lot of just whatever at this point. So pretty much with that, I think that this one right here, we play the under. I think the under could be the best play in this spot. And they moved up the under to about 234. So that's what it's going to be, the under 234 for me. All right, so we move forward, and we have the 76ers and the Nuggets in the game of the night. We have 76ers coming in here 49-25. The Nuggets are going to be 50-24. This is a very good game. This is a possible finals preview as well, too. So pretty much with that, you have a Philadelphia team that had a nice little run here. They had won 8 games in a row. They started off the month 9-1. They've lost their last 3 out of 4. Okay. So this team right now is 10-4 for the month, and they are looking to close the month strong, but they do have some tough games coming up with Denver, Dallas, and Toronto. Luckily enough, Dallas and Toronto are back in Philadelphia. Now they're trying to stay even on this road trip. And I think that what happens here is that they're going to run into a very tough game tonight with Denver. Denver has been struggling a little bit too, but Denver, they might be taking this one personal because a lot of people are already trying to hand Embiid the trophy after they tried to hand Jokic the trophy, and everybody feels like this matchup will be the game that determines who the MVP is truly going to be. So when I look at this, I see that Embiid is out, so it's not going to be those two versus each other, but you still have James Harden in the house. So pretty much with that, you got this Nuggets team that's sitting here at 6-5 this month. And I think that they're looking to get themselves a big win tonight. So I do like them with the 6.5. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. All right, we move forward to our final game, and that's going to be the Bulls and the Clippers. The Bulls and the Clippers are going to be a good one, and this is going to be a Bulls team that's 36-38. This Clipper team is 39-36, and They are 4.5-point dogs tonight. Over under 220.5. We talked about it already. The Bulls had a great win yesterday against the Lakers, and they need to keep winning because they're trying to get themselves into the playoffs right now. They are sitting right now at the 10 seed. So they're trying to keep on moving on up. And Toronto is right above them right now. So they're trying to move up and catch at least Atlanta. And you see Miami is still at the 7 seed playing. So, Chicago is just trying to stay afloat. They do have a nice little lead over the Pacers as well, too. They're 3.5 games up over the Pacers. So they probably got it already locked in that they're going to be that team in the playoffs, but they want to get a little bit higher on the food chain, and they've been playing great basketball. They've won their last 5 out of 6 to be exact, and they've actually are 9-4 this month. So this team is going to be tough tonight. So the Clippers got to be ready for what comes their way, in my opinion. So I truly do think that this game is our next best game of the night. So the Clippers do need to win this game because they need to stay in motion. They need to stay right where they're at because any type of losing at this point of the year, if you're 4 through 11, can cost you the playoffs. It truly can. And the Clippers are only a half game out from the 4 seed right now. So they don't want to fall off too much. And then they're only a half game up in the 5 seed. So they're trying to get themselves a good win tonight. And this is the spot to do it because they played against a team that put a lot into beating the Lakers last night. So pretty much when it comes down to it, I feel like the Bulls need this game way more. And the Bulls are playing with the win or go home mentality right now. And I think that knowing the Clippers, they'll probably be on cruise control tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Bulls as my dog of the day with the plus 160. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. But Clippers and Bulls, that should be another great game tonight. And let's get into your favorite subject, my favorite subject, talking tickets. And we will be talking some tickets. All right, so we have only the super high five today. And with the super high five, I do have it 34-1 today. The over 238.5 with the Mavs and the Pacers. The Rockets plus 13.5. The under 234 Suns Jazz. The 6.5 to the Nuggets and the Bulls plus 160. And this will be the NBA super high five 34-1. And I want to thank you guys so much. Single what you like. But I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in as usual. You guys are the absolute best. I love you guys. And I'll be back tomorrow to talk some more sports with you. So pretty much with that, as I always like to say, bet with your head, not with your heart. Keep the movement. The movement is moving. And I am the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. And this is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles. And we are gone.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.